Here we are again. Hilton's got Parkinson's. These little dudes behind me are a bit spooky. That's because it's very nearly Halloween. So at some point, we'll be doing some spooky games, not necessarily fantasy. I'll have to see how that all pans out. I might. Hiya, Neil. How you doing, mate? Good to see you. I was just thinking I might get a more comfortable chair while there was nobody here. And then, yeah, popped up like a good Yorkshireman should. I am going to change that chair. If you'll just forgive me, Neil, I won't be a sec. Better. That's better. I can relax now. Ooh. A chair is only ever a chair, but a good sit down is a rest. I think Churchill said something like that, didn't he? I said it about golf, but you know, a similar idea. That Rorke's Drift game sounded like it was great fun. Can't be a bit of a lark, can you? I was talking to Eric over in America during the week about that video, and he was saying a few things that were, you know, quite pertinent. I think partly we start to, as we get older, we get too grown up, don't we? We don't make scenery out of Lego or whack some orcs into a Rorke's Drift game. I had on the table a few weeks ago, I was just tidying up, and I had some miniature figurines, goblins, and a random Timpo Wild West bandit cowboy. And somebody on the comments said, you should fight that. Just leave it as it is and then fight it as a game. Oh, I thought, yeah, actually, that's quite good fun. I might have a crack at that. And another comment, I don't know if you saw it, about the rules back in the 70s. And I think, right, they weren't, we used Wargames Research Group, but they weren't Wargames Research Group for Napoleonic. They didn't come out till 1974. The first Wargames Research Group rules, 71, was just a sort of generic black powder. I think it was 1685 to 1845. And then they had an earlier one, sort of 100 Years' War. I think it was 1066. Yeah, it can't have been 1066 to 1685, but maybe 1066 to start the English Civil War, and then English Civil War, Marlborough type period. Well, that's the thing, isn't it? We didn't have any money. I remember once coming back from Donny on the bus, and I got happy, got home, skipped merrily into our house to realise I'd left my biscuit tin full of soldiers on the bus. And it tootled off to Thorn with all my army on it. I remember we had to phone up, which was a big job phoning up. I had to walk to 3 streets in the morning with a handful of tuppence to the phone box and phoned the bus station and see if anybody had found me box, which luckily they had. And my grandma retrieved it for me because she was going to town that day. But I tell you what, my heart missed a beat. I could have lost everything I owned. And also, because we didn't have any money, I remember I swapped all of my 25mm Hinchcliffe army, the Prussians I had. Well, I sold them to a lad at the club, and he pretty much paid what the metal would have cost. He didn't pay for the painting, so that I could buy miniature figurines fantasy. So as I changed one type of gaming, I had to sell everything else to get the money to buy the next one. And I think I had, in my fantasy army, I only had 2 Haradrim. I had 2 Nubians that I said were Haradrim archers. I had 2 Hinchcliffe Indian light cavalry that I said were riders of Rohan. And it was all a bit random. But you did what you could. And when I used to go to Elmfield House, they were very strict in the 70s. So you couldn't use plastic figures. So like, my mate had painted up a load of Airfix Robin Hood's men as Ithilians, and they wouldn't let me use them because they were plastic, and they used to make fun of you. Say, all your infantry are light infantry because they're made of plastic, and you were ridiculed roundly. But again, I think the next video I'm going to do about that, because I've been planning. I've had a hell of a day. What a day I've had. So I got up at 8 o'clock with plans, and I haven't done any of them because things have happened. It's been horrible. But I was thinking, like, the club vibe back in the 70s was much more. Oh, hi, Eric. I was just saying about that video I made about games in the past and what you'd said. But the club vibe in Doncaster in the 70s was brilliant. There were 30 of us regular, sometimes 36, sometimes 18. And we did things like we had other clubs would come and we'd play games against other clubs. I remember we played Leeds, and they brought all their troops and we brought all of ours. And then we got it like they put all our names in one hat and all of their names in another. And then he'd go and he'd pull his name. And Galen, I'm fighting Galen. Who's Galen? So I'd wave at him. And then he'd pull out a period. English Civil War, 15mm. And so we'd beat off. That would be our game. We'd play each other. They kept score, like sort of a cup final, internationals. And we also had like an inter-club game. We had a competition during I remember one, and it was a bit like the FA Cup, so you knew who you were going to war game with next, and the winner went into the next round. And I remember one game I was, that's the dog bursting in. Come and say hello then. There we go. He can't get out in a minute because he's got a big nose. He can't get out now. I've got to move and let him out. You're a pain. There you go. Go on. Go, Pudding. Quick before your door shuts. I put a bin in the door. We had, we'd play sort of in games against each other until there was a finalist. And we had internal painting competitions, diorama competitions. Sort of Christmas before we broke up. They were all little trophies and cups. That would get good. There was all things happening. Yeah, that's true. And it's too easy. And the internet and things don't help. Well, it does help, I suppose. It helps them. But something's lost somewhere in the ether. That's I enjoyed my gaming, and I think that sort of club spirit, that was the thing for me. I like being in teams anyway, team sports and things, being in a gang. So it suited me down to the ground. we put on a war games fair every year, every summer. And there were older men. There were people at our club from 11 into their 80s, but the bulk of the players were in their 50s. I was a teenager, and somebody again, comments about that game with when I got killed when I was commanding the infantry. What rules caused that strategy? They didn't. It was the older men who were running the game, and they built in the campaign elements, and they built in the excitement. And we didn't throw a dice for it. I've got people I know who say, "Oh, I can't play that anymore because I've done all the campaigns at the back. I've done all the battles in Dux Britannicum, so I've have to buy the next lot of battles." You think, well, no, you don't make your own up. Not going to film you like watching. Base it on David Hemmings in Alfred the Great, or pinch a different film. Do a scenario from Star Wars. I've just been doing some stuff. I thought, well, because with my squats, my 40k squats, they don't come out very often. But I thought, what I'll do, I'm going to watch a random episode of Star Trek Enterprise, with Jonathan Archer, like way back in the olden days with T'Pol. And so I thought, well, I'm just going to scroll through it without looking. I'm going to stop. And whatever the mission is they've got to do, that's the mission my squats have got to do. Or I do it on XCOM. I play XCOM. I've got an Xbox. So I play XCOM on the Xbox. And I'll say, right, whatever mission comes up next, eliminate enemy commander or rescue a hostage. That's what my squats have to do. That's the mission. And provocatively, sometimes I just make stuff up. I do. I don't even care. I just make it up. I have got some 3D printed. There's the sort of space dwarfs. And they're the closest I can get to squats. I don't like that Legion of Zoltan that they're doing now. They don't fit. And the actual squat dwarfy ones I don't fit, but the women do, because there are no female squats. So I bought some 3D printed. Now they're painted. They look really good. Yeah, I've also there's somebody on this, and I can't remember who he is, but he does sort of 3D printed. He calls them something else, but they are rhinos or land raiders, but they're all blown up, and that's a 3D print, so they look good. Because I set my sci-fi thing 1,000 years after 40k, so I play 41k, and I use rules like 5 parsecs from home or Stargrave, because it's very skirmishy. I also got a great big, and it is big as well, it's massive, AT-AT from a tropical pet shop, tropical fish shop, and it's an ornament for a fish tank. It's huge, and it's all green and red and corroded and grotty. So I use it as a broke AT-AT from the Holden days. It only cost me about £3. It's massive. Or I got a troll from Lord of the Rings. And it was actually a key ring from the pound shop. It cost me £1. And I pulled the key thing out of his head. Hi, Rolando. How are you doing, dude? I was hoping you'd pop up. Thanks for all your comments. I much appreciate them. I really, really do. That's great. I'll let you say hello to everybody. Oh, but Neil, do you mean like that old epic scale they did? That sort of 6 mil, even smaller with the. I can remember I had some dwarf boats that were like American Civil War monitors things, Yeah, that's the fellas. Yeah, I've still got I've got an elf army. Actually, no, I haven't. I think I've got reprints. I've got some original dwarf artillery, but I've got a lot of my stuff is made by Callistra, but it's the same scale. So my elves and things, and then there's a lot who look very similar, sort of like 6, maybe 10 mil versions of the 28 mil Warhammer figures. I must do a game with them sometime as a YouTube video, because they've not come out yet. they're in their toolbox gathering dust. I don't think I've used the dwarf artillery for ages, because my dwarfs in my world don't have artillery. Warmaster, that's the fella. I knew someone would know. Because I like the dwarf ships as well. They had like paddle steamers, weren't they, with big funnels? And I think they did gyrocopters and stuff. And one of the lads at my school, one of the pupils, he had like an evil army, skeletons and things, and he had the dragons, and you got 3 tiny little dragons, and he actually called them the Flight of 3, and he spelled it Flyte. They were dead good. I loved that, the Flight of 3. I hope he still got them. Yeah, I tend to. I'm going to make a big admission now. I use sort of Shaco, and I alter it so that the archery range, there is an archery range in Shaco for sort of like the Ottoman and people. So I use those ranges, and I use the movement, and I pretty much use the same. You know, I give elves, like I might do the old guard, give them a 6-2, and I give goblins a 2-0, like I might do Spanish poorly trained regulars. And I pretty much fight it like Shaco, because there are a lot of figures, and it gets complicated if you try and be too clever with your rules. I think there's sort of 6-8 men on a base, so when people are dead, you're not going to take figures off. And I don't like the idea of putting little rings around them all, or micro dice, because you just end up with a table full of counters and dice, and it doesn't look realistic. Yeah, it's my fantasy Shaco is not for the purists. But I have this theory that if you're a trained infantryman, whether you're in Minas Tirith or the Peninsular Wars of the 19th century or the American Civil War, you pretty much walk at the same speed. So why have different rules for everything? All right. I like Perry. I do like Perry. I'll look at them. Did any of you have you any played with the flintlock Napoleonic, where they're all toads and animals? I think that the Spanish that I had were all sort of frogs and toads in Spanish uniforms, and there are some are dogs. I think they might be British. I can't remember what the orcs were. I never had any of them. Actually, I had frogs and toads. That's flintlock. 28 mil, nice figures, but they're a bit weird. They're not for the pure. Yeah, our Perry figures I really like. Oh, excellent. Oh, I'm going to have a look at that. I've got a friend at my club who does, he likes things like all the sort of guerrilla skirmishy games. Even I'm a game at the moment he's doing. He does a lot of Spanish Civil War, and he does a lot of World War One, but he sets it in Africa. So a lot of sort of colonial troops, a lot of skirmishing, a lot of fighting in mangrove swamps and jungles and on golf courses. Yeah, flintlock. I think they spell it Flintloque. I'm pretty sure that's how they spell flintlock. That's it. Yeah, flintlock. They're the very fellas. I had frogs and toads, and I'm pretty sure they were Spanish, but I kept getting laughed at, and they weren't very good. I know there were some dogs. I think they were British. Dogs of war. I think maybe dogs. I just thought of that after about 15, 20 years. It's just occurred to me they were dogs of war. How thick am I? Oh man, I'm embarrassed now. Oh. It's nice to see all the different games people are playing. I'm so pleased I started doing YouTube. Oh, great! Right, they're still making them, are they, Eric? I might have to get some for old time's sake. Although I might not be able to with the day I've had today and the news I've had today. Might be big changes coming my way. I don't like change. Oh, Brill. I'll have to have a look. I will have to have a look. Just for a giggle, I think. I'm trying to remember what. Maybe the French were the French orcs and goblins? I've got a feeling the British were dogs. I've got some. They were like terriers with that sort of hairy snozzers. And I have a feeling the French might have been orcs and goblins. Oh, that's the dog howling. If that's the phone ringing that's making him howl, that is some very momentous news that is going to either change my life forever or doom me into a never, ever, ever ending spiral vortex of horror. I'll tell you about it when I finally know. You meant to tell on my face what's happened when the news comes in. Let's have a look what that is. Oh, right. Oh, it's British. Well, that does surprise me. That surprises me. Ah. Just shows, doesn't it? I played it mid-90s, probably. Yeah, probably 90. Certainly before 2002. Probably after 95. So probably I had those figures in that little 7-year window. Because as you get older, you see things happen and you think, I know I didn't have them before that crisis. I did have them after that crisis, and I know when that crisis happened. So there we go. It's like, sort of lockdown or the dark ages. My leg fell off that year. So I remember when it was because I kept falling over. It's like I know exactly when I got Parkinson's. So I can date things around that. Yeah, I mean, back in the 80s, it was. I mean, if I go back even further to the 70s, the first club I ever went to, my dad heard about it from some chaps he worked with. He worked at, well, in Doncaster, it was at the time, it was BNS, British Nylon Spinners, and it became ICI, the chemical people. And two of the men that worked with me dad on his shift were wargamers. And my dad was fed up with me and my brother playing with airfix soldiers and annoying each other. So he dragged us off to the Wargames Club to shut us up. And he got into it himself. So he wargamed a bit as well. Not a lot, but a bit. When I left, college had a Wargames Club. So I just went. It was a no-brainer. Tended to be a bit role play. When I first started teaching, I found an advert in either in Wargames Illustrated or Miniature Models or one of Airfix Cattle, one of those magazines, and it was an advert for Oldham Wargames Club. So I did that. The club I went to, by the time I came up here, which was 2012, 2013, my son found them on the internet. And I said to him, can you find me a Wargames Club? And he found one by Barnstable Slayers. And they were predictably Warhammer, predominantly Warhammer. And I said, I don't care. I'll play Warhammer. I'll do anything. So I went over, and there were lads playing Magic the Gathering, Necromunda, Blood Bowl, Warhammer 40k. But there were about a dozen historical gamers in the same club. They were doing muskets and tomahawks, French Indian Wars, those sorts of things. So I went from my dad telling me to seeing it in a magazine, late 70s, early 80s, to the internet. Because if you look at the early magazines with all the adverts in, there's a whole section for club news in military miniatures, back in the mid-70s. There are, like, amongst the adverts, there's like 3 pages for Wargames clubs in the US, in Europe, in America, in Britain. They tell you everywhere they are. So every now and again you find one that's near your area. I haven't got any up here. They are, I think I've got some pictures on my phone. I mean, some of them are still around. I mean, the Airfix magazine for the kits is still with us. Turn my phone off because I didn't want to get pestered with random dopey calls. Now I can't turn my phone back on. The earliest magazine I've got a picture of is from 1973. It's got a big picture of a samurai on it. And then I've got, like, the first advert ever for White Dwarf is in one of these from the 70s. It just helps me remember when things are. If I look for my photos, here we are, what we got. It's not that, 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 it's not that. 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 I can tell you what it's not. Hang on a sec. Bear with. Bear with. Bear with. Bear with. God, I've got a lot of pictures on here. This is going to have to get cleaned up. Trouble is, I keep doing this. I think, oh, my phone's full. So what I'll do, I'll clean it up. And what I end up doing is cleaning up the pictures that I haven't quite finished with. Oh, you rotten thing. Where will they be? I wonder if they're in there. I don't think they've been here. I'll have a look. They'll be there, they won't be there. That's Dungeons and Dragons game. I seem to have wiped him out. If I... Oh, I know where they added some. Hang on. Do that. Do that. Get rid of that. That's wrong. That's wrong. Do that. It's gripping this, isn't it? I found one, but it's not the best picture in the world. Goodness me, there's a lot of tripe to look through on here. I keep finding it and I can't pause on it because I'm wobbly. Miniature modelling, I think, is one I've found. Nightmare. Yeah, military modelling is the one I've found. That's the one I've got from the 70s. The say Airfix magazine were out, and then we'd order the catalogues as well for like miniature figurines, Hinchcliffe. They all did big, nice sort of catalogues. You know, I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. Yeah, apparently I've just been looking at because I have a database of everything I pick up, and they do appear in catalogues at Hinton Hunt. I'm like, is that what you were talking about? And various catalogues selling things and from the 60s and 70s. I have seen some, on eBay. Because my recollection is they mainly did 20 mil, but I do know they did bigger figures. I also know they did Dungeons and Dragons figures. Yeah. I would imagine the catalogues were, well, I would imagine Hinton's catalogue went in mostly the big catalogues, which was, the military modelling type thing. I'm not sure when miniature wargaming came out. I don't want to keep looking things up and abandoning you, so you've taken the trouble to be there. Back in the 70s, we saw the magazines as adverts and places to find things out. I mean, some of the earlier ones have got sort of entire pages dedicated to Tamiya or this American half track model, or how you convert the 1977 one. I remember vividly because that was the Queen's Silver Jubilee, and it's how to convert a French chasseur cavalryman into a model of Queen Elizabeth II at Trooping with the Colour. So it was that sort of level of modelling detail going from A to B. I remember articles about how to cast your own figures. Yeah, Ross, I don't. Yeah, I'll actually do a YouTube thing about the different magazines. Although I might actually do the 70s one, which is two versions of the same magazine, because it's quite good fun looking at some of the adverts and some of the companies who are still around making things today. And a lot of people now are coming back, aren't they? I know on here we've got a subscriber, Broadsword, who is making some Hinchcliffe figures. Caliver are making some miniature figurines. They're not making them all. They haven't got the rights to them all, but they're making enough. There's somebody I met at a war game convention in the summer who's doing Grenadier again. So it's nice in some ways because it means you can get your old figures back, and it's bad in other ways because it means the fact that my figures are 50 years old is irrelevant because you can go and buy it from Caliver and get them brand new and they look exactly the same. I've got, Eric, a brilliant. I've just bought a copy of Little Wars because H.G. Wells did another book, didn't he? Is it called, I don't know, Games for Small People, Carpet Games? Because in that he says all you need as a kid is you need toy soldiers, toy animals, building bricks, a vehicle you can drive along, and an imagination. But if I don't know if you've all read H.G. Wells' Little Wars, it is hilarious. I love H.G. Wells anyway. I love the style. I love War of the Worlds. I love War in the Air, the Time Machine, everything. But the way he writes that book, he's a war gamer. Him and his mate are having a coffee, and his mate says to him, "Look what I bought," and it's a little gun that he fires lead out of. And they get with no time. He says, "We've got soldiers on the table, and we're betting each other who can knock the most down." And then he challenges H.G. Wells to a game. And the rules are what we play. They've got rules for movement. They've got rules for sort of sensible rules for hand-to-hand combat. What they do is they divide the entire room, make that a world. So bed becomes a mountain or a big hill. And the patterns in the carpet become rivers and woods. And I think they divide it up into foot long. So infantry move a foot, 12 inches. Cavalry move 2 foot. And you have one gun that fires lead. and you can move it 6 inches or you can shoot it. So if I move the gun to there, then I can shoot it from there. Boop. And if I need to move it, I can move it. I can't move and fire. I can only do one or the other. And when units come into hand-to-hand combat, it's pretty much, if you've got 9 men and I've got 12, you lose 9 and I lose 9 because you've got 9. I've got 3 left over. I've won. That's it. There's no dice. There's none of that kaboobins that we have now. Foundry is 100% worth a visit. We're talking about going up to Newark. I think it's just finished, hasn't it? Their show. Because, I mean, Newark's like the center of the universe for wargamers. Foundry miniatures are there. The actual Warhammer Games Workshop production team, they put on big shows up there. They have painting competitions. Newark's fantastic, and it's a lovely place as well. Which I'm saying with reluctance because I'm a Yorkshireman. It's not in Yorkshire. But again, you've got Nottingham. You can go to Clumber Park, see the Major Oak, where Robin Hood is meant to have hid. They're all right. Conisbrough Castle, that's near Doncaster. Conisbrough Castle's in Ivanhoe. And they've done it all up. They put a roof on it. It's dead good. Not far from Leeds Armories. So I don't know where you're at, mate. Are you yeah, I keep wanting to come over though to Gen Con. Where are you at, Rolando? Are you in the, I'm guessing you're in the UK. Are you far from God's own county, Yorkshire? Yeah, the idea with floor games, Eric, he just turned the entire floor into a game. All right. I used to teach in Rochdale. Taught in Rochdale, and I taught in Burnley. And don't worry about the football thing because I'm a Doncaster Rovers fan. I could not give a monkey's uncle about Lancashire football. I know Blackburn well. And then I ended up as a headmaster at school in Clitheroe. So I know how Lancashire, Blackburn's in Lancashire, isn't it, officially, as an LEA. Hey, we all have to suffer. But Rochdale's in Greater Manchester, isn't it? When I went to Rochdale, it was in Lancashire. By the time I left 5 years later, in Greater Manchester, I don't know what happened. Oh, I used to be the headmaster at Barrow Primary School, halfway between Clitheroe and Whalley, just opposite the golf club. Apparently, they're building big time there because when I was there, it was tiny little village school for Wizzle, Barrow, and Pendleton. And now they've shoved in gazillions of kids from all the housing estates that they built on the lovely farmland. One of the lads I used to teach, who was a farmer up there, showed me a picture of where we used to camp and look over green fields. It was a big McDonald's sign. Oh, man. I've got a brother who lives in Skipton. But the rest of my family are in Rotherham, Sheffield, Donny, that sort of area. We should, perhaps when something's on like triples, do they still do triples at the armories or have they stopped? I don't know what they're doing about that. But we should, if we're going to something, like if you were going to Newark. Ah, no. That's tragic, man. What have they done to Barrow? I only got the job in '93. It's not like the Dark Ages. Oh, it was beautiful. And the village spirit and everything. And it was only like a road with houses on one side. It didn't even have houses on the other side because it was fields. Oh, I'm gutted. Honestly, mate. I am torn apart. Yeah, I was going to say sometime if somebody goes, oh, I'm going to Newark, we could have a school trip. We could all meet up. Because I mean, for me, I'm in Devon. I could jump on a train in Exeter and I can get a train to Donny and then I can get a link to Newark. Or I could stop with my brother in Rotherham and we could go when his lads were gamers. We could all, my son's a gamer, although he's in West Virginia. It's unlikely he'd be coming. But yeah, that'd be top, wouldn't it? Jolly Boys outing. Don't worry, Eric. We'll find some way of springing you from America. We'll get you out, put a cloth on your head, and smuggle you out. I'm sure your wife would be thrilled with that, wouldn't she? Where's he gone now? Oh, it's all right. He's gone to a Wargames fair in Europe. He'll be back in a bit. Well, that's all right then. Leaving me to do washing up. Rotten swine. Oh, you know, I can't believe what you tell him. I was when I went to Barrow. It was a United Reformed Church school, and there was a chapel, and then the junior school was at the front, joined on, and then the infant class. It was only a class; it wasn't a school. That was behind the chapel. You couldn't see it from the main road, and then a huge playing field, and we had outside toilets. And if the children wanted to go to the toilet, they had to come and ask me as headmaster for a key. And the teacher, an assistant, had to go out with them so they didn't get abducted going for a whittle. And then I'd bring the key back. It was like some medieval ceremony. Yeah. When I win the lottery, I'm going to pay for us all to have a big, massive trip. Well, there's so few of us, and there's not many of us on here. You see, that we'd be all right doing us. I'm already finding it out. When there were only like a couple of subscribers, I was saying, "Oh, I wish we had more subscribers." And then as we've gone up, we're like 89 now. I'm trying to break 90 because my plan was always to get to 100 by Christmas. So I'm proper close, but I'm getting lots of comments and questions. And it's getting harder and harder. So I get up in the morning, I come in here, and I sit down and I have to go through all the comments and all the answers. Oh, I want to keep it right personal. But there's going to come a time when that's not going to happen. I'm going to have to fight it. Because I've done these. I've made these, look. I've made them for me. I haven't made them for anybody else. But I thought, when I'm performing, as it were, I made some T-shirts, look. Gone wrong way. And I've got some mugs, and I've got all sorts of bits. And then I thought it'd be nice, because I've got rule sets going right back to the 70s, and it'd be really good to make them available to you. So you could say, "Can I have some rules?" I'll go, "Oh yeah, there you go. These are my rules from Miniature Figurines 1978. Or these are some rules Donald Featherstone gave me in 1974. And I just either scan them, because Eric says I can scan them. Oh, thanks, man. Cheers, Neil. But what I'm thinking, if I scan this stuff, and then apparently, so Eric tells me, I can tell the printer to send it to my computer as a PDF. And then you guys can download the PDF if you want it. I don't want to sell things. I'm not doing that. I'm not bothered about that. But it'd be nice to swap ideas. And then I thought, well, what about Patreon? I thought. Because a lot of people, I've seen all these YouTubers, they all go to Patreon. And I thought, well, that sounds good until I looked at it. And they're just trying to get your money off you. They're trying to make you, as viewers, pay money to look at me. No, that's not happening. You don't do that to your mates, do you? Can you imagine going to a War Games club and saying, "Don't look at me unless you give me a $5. Look over there. Avert your eyes." I don't know who you think you are, peeping at me. I've seen you. I've got my eye on you. I don't like that. I don't like all these. And there was a guy on YouTube this morning, and I've seen him a few times, and he's beginning to wind me up now. And he's about YouTube can be successful. You too can make lots of money. And somebody said, YouTube doesn't work. And then they said, well, why don't it work? It said, well, I've been on it 16 years and I'm not a millionaire. Is that why they're on it? I mean, what? No, I'm not having that. I'm here to meet fellow wargamers and get to know each other and to be honest and share experiences and, if needs be a bit of support for each other in this crazy, bonkers world that probably only we understand. Survivors. We're like, we've stumbled up an embankment after a derailment. Our train, we've had a train crash. It's called life. And we've all stumbled up an embankment after a derailment, rubbing our eyes. And we're now a support group. We're talking therapy, trying to get our heads straight. I thought that when I told that story last night on my video about going through a hole in a wall, pretending I was an elf, scuttling round South Yorkshire, dodging all the pit villagers and all the minders' kids and all the thugs and lunatics. Bonkers. But I think we are. And maybe certainly for me, I think that helps me fight my Parkinson's. Because I don't get serious about stuff. And the imagination and the fantasy lets me go to places where I'm not ill. I could be in a squat spaceship tonight when I can't sleep, going on a mission. I can be in Middle Earth. I can be a pirate in 1680 in the Indian Ocean. I can be whatever I want to be. And that's got to be something we should be thankful for, isn't it? I certainly am. I don't want to get too serious, but without wargaming, I really think I'd have been in trouble. I was a policeman for enough years to get a long service medal years ago, back in, first of all, in Greater Manchester and then Lancashire. And I was at in Lancashire, police station in Lancashire. And they kept talking about this guy who wasn't turning up on shift because his shed had collapsed on him. And I thought, oh, wow. He was in his shed and it fell on his head. It turns out that was like slang for post-traumatic stress. So rather than actually say, poor beggar, they actually, he's had a shed collapse. Yeah. I love it. Yeah, well played, Ronaldo. No, yeah, it's got to be done, hasn't it? My wife said to me one day, we were on like a spring walk with the dog and all the flowers around things. And she's waxing lyrical about the spring, like Wordsworth. I wandered lonely as a cloud. And she turned to me and she said, "You're quiet. What are you thinking about?" And I had to make some up dead quick about flowers. Because what I was thinking was, if I was the jackal, that'd be a great place to hide as a sniper. Oh, I'm sat on sand dunes thinking, oh, just imagine landing there. Oh, man. Oh, fantastic. It's great to see you, Ollie. It really is. I'm sort of going to, it's 50, I've been on air about 56 minutes. And I'm going to knock it off in, 55? About 2 minutes. So I don't want to abruptly go, bye. I just want to warn you, because I've done an hour, so it's pushing 9 o'clock in the UK, 9 p.m. My wife watches Coronation Street, which I can't stand. That's about to finish. the phone ringing's probably the news, good or bad, that we've been waiting for. So I better go and find out what that is and either commiserate or celebrate. And I will keep posting all week. And I look forward to talking to you guys. I look forward to your comments. I genuinely love them. You're top people, all of you. And I hope you have a great week. And God willing, and if the levee don't break, I'll see you next week. Ta-ra, Chuck!